Have you ever had a certain place capture your imagination? As a fisherman, I spend a great deal of time exploring bodies of water, and I can tell you there's certain places that never really leave your mind. They infect their way into your imagination and plague you as you're dropping off to sleep or as you're going about your day at work. They beckon you to return. I first caught wind of this potential fishing location from my uncle and my brother. They had both gone back in there to do some duck hunting, and later they told me that there was this huge body of water that was left over from flooding. It was kind of like a small lake that was isolated in the middle of this floodplain, and my brother even said he had seen ripples of fish swimming around in this area. Now, being a fisherman, I always have my ears and eyes open for potentially new fishing spots. I like to do a little exploring and find secluded areas, and this particular place that they were talking about piqued my interest, and once it got into my head, I couldn't let it go. Let me show you the map. Okay, so this is the map that I want to look at, and the first thing that you can see is this creek right here. It kind of borders the edge of the map. This is the main creek that actually floods. So when this creek floods, it fills up this whole area kind of like a bowl, right? And this is the area where I want to focus, this pocket of water right here that has been left behind from flooding. Now, this map does provide some logistical challenges when it comes to actually accessing this land. The main challenge is that the public land access to this body of water is difficult. There is easy access points right here, as you can see from this field, and up here, but this is all private land up in here, and so I don't want to trespass and break the law in order to access this body of water. So that means in order to access this body of water legally, I'm going to have to hike, cross the creek, hike all the way across this floodplain, and then gain access to the body of water. The body of water itself is on public land, but again, I can't access from the backside because this is all private. Now, I did scout this body of water last year. I actually took this route where I crossed the creek and then hiked across the floodplain and checked out the body of water, and I can tell you from doing that hike that it is brutal. But nevertheless, we're going to give it a shot and explore this body of water further. So the current area that I am hiking through right now is what is classified as a floodplain. That means that during flooding season, the river behind me floods and it actually covers this whole area. And so you can see evidence of that by all of the logs and debris that's washed up and kind of piled everywhere. And I gotta say, this place has a very mysterious quality about it. Something about the canopy of trees overhead, all the debris piled up, and the vegetation that's here, it just feels very mysterious and kind of spooky at the same time. These plants are literally as tall as me. So as if hacking through this dense foliage wasn't hard enough, I just discovered that a lot of these plants that I'm hacking through are stinging nettles. And let's just say my arm currently is on fire. Look at that. It's very uncomfortable. My knee's on fire, my feet are on fire, but I'm not one to give up, so let's continue on. All right, so according to my maps right here, I need to now cross this creek and continue on a little bit farther in order to get to the lake. This is another obstacle that I'm gonna have to face. Last time I was here, the creek was a lot higher and I did have some difficulty crossing, but right now the creek is very, very low, so I shouldn't have too much difficulty as long as I don't like stumble into a deep area. All right, it is time to cross the creek. Here goes nothing. Very sandy bottom. There's a big log right over there. I'm gonna try and get over to it so I can climb up on it. Okay, this is deeper than I thought it was gonna be. I'm gonna try and get over here to this log. Got it. See if I can get up on it. Okay, I'm on the log. Oh crap. Ugh. All right, that was bad. What happened there? Almost went down. Almost went down. I got like $1,000 worth of camera gear in my backpack, so I don't really want to go down. I'm gonna have to back out. All right, so it turns out that area was a lot deeper than I thought, and I almost went up to my like chest, which is not ideal because my backpack has expensive camera gear in it and I can't get that wet. So I'm gonna go downstream here and try another spot. This looks a little better. I thought this wasn't gonna be a problem because the river does not seem to be running high at all. It's deeper than I thought around here. Crud muffins. All right, so I'm trying another spot right here. And as you can see, I got my pack up over my head and I'm just gonna send it and see what happens. I might have to do a little swimming. Hopefully not. All right, here we go. That almost came up to my neck. Thankfully it didn't. All right, we made it to the other side. I'm soaking wet, but we made it across. Now it should be pretty much a straight shot from here to the lake. All right, so as you can see, there's this tiny little creek that runs through this floodplain, but if you look behind me, you can see evidence of some major flooding. There's all this debris just piled up on the sides like this. So at one point, you know, this creek was probably 5 or 6 feet high. That's crazy. So this little body of water right here is not the actual lake we're trying to reach. It is, however, remnants of flooding. As you can see, certain areas of this floodplain still hold water after the floods are gone and after the water is down. But my guess is in another couple of months, this will all be dried up. So we've made it through all of the difficult obstacles and now it's pretty much smooth sailing onto the lake, which I'm super excited about because I don't want to deal with any more stinging nettles or creeks. And honestly, this area is probably my favorite feature of this whole piece of property. One of the really cool things about this floodplain is that after the water leaves, it leaves really fertile soil. And so this whole area just turns into like a big grassland. It's absolutely gorgeous. All right, so the lake should just be right beyond this wood line right here. I'm excited. Whoa, this place is cool. We finally made it. Here it is. All right, so we finally made it out here to the lake. As you can see, now the first thing that I noticed is the fact that the water seems to be quite low. The last time I was here last summer, this whole area had a nice amount of water in it. Now it seems like the water has dropped probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet since then. But nevertheless, I am seeing a ton of ripples around here in the water. There's a fish hanging out right there. I'm not sure what it is, probably a carp. But man, I'm excited. Let's grab a fishing pole and see what we can catch. So first things first, I'm gonna tie on this thing right here. It's just a little jig head and a little soft plastic tube. And I'm just gonna fish this around and see if there's any small panfish, maybe some small bass in here, first of all, and then if that doesn't work, we'll switch up to something else. But I'm seeing a lot of ripples. I'm seeing a lot of disturbances on the surface of the water. So that's a good sign. It means there is fish in here. Despite there being a decent amount of water in here, the water is literally like 5 inches deep. That's it. So there's not much in here. There is quite a few minnows, and I think there's some small panfish in here. But upon closer inspection, it does not look very good at all. You can see the water line here on the bank is actually decently high. If this place was filled up, it'd probably have, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet of water in it. But right now it is very, very low. So it is really disappointing to travel all that way back in here to brave all those elements and to end up short-handed. With that being said, I am gonna follow this creek right here. This actually runs out of the lake and this joins up with the big creek farther down. So I'm just gonna walk this creek out of here and just see if there's anything in here. Just spooked a big fish right there. Oh, that stunk. This creek is only about 6 feet wide, and I stumbled across an area that is absolutely loaded with carp. So the lake is dead, but it turns out the creek feeding out of it actually has some life. So I want to see if I can't catch one of these carp. Huge carp right there, oh my word. I just saw a giant carp swim out right in front of me. So there's good news and bad news. The good news is I found a little area, a little pocket of water that's absolutely chock full of carp. Like I mentioned, this creek actually feeds off the main creek and feeds into the lake. So it's kind of a channel in between both, and it's absolutely slam full of fish. The bad news is it's getting late and I have to yet hike back out of here. So I'm still pretty far back in and it's gonna require quite a hike to get out. So I'm afraid I'm gonna have to call it a day. All right, so I just stumbled across this huge log jam and I think this is gonna be a way easier way to cross the creek. I'm gonna see if I can make my way across just on these logs because there is literally logs piling up this whole river. One thing I have to do is I have to be careful. I don't wanna slip and fall because there is quite a bit of water still moving underneath all these logs. So we don't wanna get ourselves into a sticky situation. Gonna have to do a little bit of wading for the final stretch, but still, that is way easier than swimming the creek. All right, so today I am trying a different route to get to my fishing spot. This one on paper should be a little easier, but I still have to navigate all of these large weeds. So like I mentioned, I am following a new route in, and so far it's been pretty good. Been walking for a bit, and I finally made it to the creek. But thankfully this time I don't have to wade across. All I have to do is follow the creek upstream, and there should be a natural bridge for me to cross there. All right, so like I mentioned, I'm following this creek back into the primary location, and I wasn't really planning on fishing this creek today necessarily, but I just saw a fish explode on the surface of the water out there. So I figured I might as well tie on a lure and make a couple casts in here to see if there's anything active. I'm gonna go ahead and tie on this repeller right here. Nice minnow pattern, gonna be throwing it on my spinning rod. And just gonna make a couple casts in the area and see if there's anything feeding. Whatever was making those noises, they're not biting. But anyway, the hunt continues. right, so what you're seeing behind me is the natural bridge that I was talking about. Essentially what it is just a ton of trees and logs all twisted together, all piled up from the flooding that happens in this area. This is honestly incredible. I've never seen a log jam this big before. This is awesome because it creates a natural bridge for me and I can cross right here. I don't have to swim across. All right, so I'm crossing the log jam right here and I just saw a fish blow up on a minnow right out here in this little pocket. So I'm gonna make a couple casts in there and see if I can't catch him. Got one. Got a fish. This log jam also provides great habitat for a number of different fish. As you can see right there, beautiful little largemouth bass came right out of this log jam. See you, buddy. It also is a log jam, and I just lost that lure. You know, this is a fishing documentary that I'm filming right now, so it's finally nice to actually catch a fish on camera. It feels good. With that being said, we're not even back to the main spot yet, so we should keep going. All right, guys, so after quite a trek, I finally made it back to the area that I discovered last time I was here. This is the little creek that was absolutely full of carp last time I was here. So I'm gonna approach it very stealthily and rig up and try to catch one of these fish. So today I'm gonna be primarily targeting carp. However, I just saw a bunch of little minnows swimming around in this creek right here, right where it enters the main creek. And I just saw a fish explode on some minnows. Not a very big fish, but a fish nonetheless. So I'm gonna really quickly tie on this little swim bait right here, throw it around in there and see if I can't catch maybe a bluegill or a small bass. Okay, so I was right. There was a little bass hanging out in there. Not a huge fish, but a beautiful fish nonetheless. All right, so that was fun catching that little bass, but back to the challenge at hand, catching a carp. For my carp rig, I'm gonna keep it very simple. I'm gonna go with this small jig head right here, and then I'm gonna go with some canned corn. Just gonna take a couple kernels like this and just thread them up on the hook. I know from the last time I was here, the fish were quite skittish and wary, so I'm using a smaller rig to hopefully increase my chances of catching one this evening. There was a carp right there. Again, like I said, hanging out in this backwater. One of the things I'm looking for when I'm stalking carp is a slight disturbance on the surface of the water. Because usually carp are sucking around near the bank and they create just a little bit of a disturbance on the surface. So I'm keeping my eyes peeled, and if I see that little bit of disturbance, it tells me that there's a fish nearby. And if I know there's a fish nearby, I can take active steps to target him. Apparently sunfish like corn too, not just carp. Well guys, honestly it's been pretty frustrating right now. Last time I was here there was a bunch of carp all up in this little creek. And when I first got here I saw a couple carp in here, so I was like, okay, this should be good. Since I got the gear out and started fishing, it seems like all of the carp have vanished. I'm not sure what to do. It's getting late and I have to get back to the car. So I think I might have to call it a day, which is really disappointing because I was very excited to get back to this spot and hopefully get on some carp. But it seems like, again, the carp have all moved on. They're not here right now. It's pretty disheartening when you have to hike like an hour back in here to fish and then all the fish are gone. All right, so I'm getting ready to head out of here for the day. But before I do, I just wanted to tie on a topwater bait and just throw it around here in the main creek, see if anything's biting. Whoa. Hit it right there. Nice little fish right there on the whopper plopper. Second bass of the day. All right, we got a bit of a feeding frenzy going on. That's a nice bass right there. That's a good fish right there on the top water, out of this little log jam area again. Beautiful thing. Very healthy fish, nice gut on it. Sweet. I found a little hot spot right in here. Well, that was a fun little way to end out the day. 2 nice bass out of 1 tiny little area. But I gotta make tracks for home, it's getting dark. I have to say, this place really stretched me as an angler. It almost broke me at times. It was one of the most frustrating places that I've ever fished. And yet, this place still had an intrigue and a mystery that drew me back time and time again. Well, I am on the road once again, headed to the floodplain. I believe this trip will be my 3rd going back in there. And so far, I kind of have mixed feelings about this location. On one hand, it looks really, really cool, and I was able to catch a couple fish last time I was in there. But on the other hand, it's proven to be a lot more difficult than I thought. I thought I was going to find these, kind of hidden pockets of water that were going to be full of fish, and that is not the case. But nevertheless, the place is super cool, and I think there is some good fishing to be had. I just kind of have to rethink how I'm going to approach this area and focus my efforts a little bit differently. So I'm crossing my fingers, and hopefully we can get on some fish today. We'll see what happens. Seems like every time I come back here, the foliage just gets higher and higher. Made it to the river. I tell you what, that hike does not get any easier. The first time that I was back in here, I was looking for an isolated body of water that is left behind by flooding. We found that, but we also found out that there's not much water in it anymore. And then the second time that I was back in here, I was trying to catch some carp in a tiny tributary off the main creek. Well, today we're gonna scrap all that and we're gonna focus our efforts just on the creek. I'm really curious to see what the fishing is like back here, because again, this is pretty remote. It's pretty hard for people to access this particular area of the creek, so I have a feeling that there should be some good fishing. Last time I was here, I actually caught a couple of nice bass out of here, so that is my primary target. We're gonna fish the creek and see what happens. So I brought my ultralight rod and reel along with me today, and I love fishing creeks with an ultralight, so I have just tied on a tiny little swim bait and jig head. I'm gonna kind of work my way all the way up the creek until I get to the big log jam, because I have a feeling there could be some really good fishing there, just given that the water up there is a lot deeper than the water down here. I'm not gonna lie, this guy kind of startled me when I first saw him. What's up, buddy? He's just hanging out, sunning himself. I think snakes are pretty cool, so we're gonna leave him be. All right, so I fished my way up the creek, and I gotta be honest, it's been a little disappointing. I haven't had much luck. I've had a couple hits here and there from fairly small fish, but other than that, absolutely nothing. So I just rolled up to this log jam right here, and there is a nice kind of deep eddy right there, a lot of current moving, looks like fairly deep water. So we're gonna give this a shot and see what happens. Got one right there. Top water, baby. Oh yeah. We got it done, folks. We finally caught a fish today. It's been a little slow, I'm not gonna lie. But finally caught a fish, not a huge fish, but a fish nonetheless on the whopper plopper right here. Beautiful little river smallmouth right there. Gorgeous, these fish put up such a good fight. Sweet. All right, third fish of the day out of that same little pocket. The cool thing about smallmouth is pound for pound they fight so hard that even catching the smaller ones like this is a ton of fun. And it looks like there's a bunch stacked in this spot, so I'm gonna keep fishing. Boom, right there, nice largemouth bass on the top water, on the whopper plopper out of this tiny little pocket right here. This is so much fun, dude. These fish are so aggressive. They're hitting the top water, which is just insane. Whew, that's awesome. Well guys, the sun is starting to set and I still gotta hike out of here, so I think I'm gonna call it a day and head for the car. I have to say, this particular trip was a success. I'm very happy with the results. It was awesome to finally get on some fish after all of the hiking, all of the searching, to finally find a nice pocket of fish in here. And to catch them out of such a gnarly log jam made it even more fun. All right, so it is my fourth trip back into the floodplains, and today I'm actually taking a different route. I'm taking this ridge top back in, and as you can see, there is the creek right there. So whenever I get to the spot I want, I'll be able to just dart down the hill, and I'm right at the water. This is definitely a lot nicer. I just stopped off at this little pool right here. This is where I caught the fish the other day. And I'm just gonna make a couple casts and see if there's any fish hanging out in there. Well, that was fun, guys. Caught a couple nice little smallmouth and a nice little largemouth out of there, but it's time to keep moving. Guys, something just happened that is absolutely terrible. I just dropped my GoPro down into this crevasse right down in here under these logs. I'd set my GoPro up here on a little tripod to get a shot over there, and it just flipped off and fell straight down into there. That's like 7 feet of water in a log jam, so there's no way I'm gonna jump in there and try and find it. Oh my word, that is so sickening. All the footage is gone, and it's like a $300 camera, just absolutely gone. And I think the current just took it. Oh, that is so sickening. Man. I am so ticked off right now. So ticked off. That should not have happened. It honestly kills the mood right there. I don't feel like fishing anymore, honestly. I'm gonna try and fish it out, but I don't have very high hopes. Let's see what happens. I honestly just want to give up at this point. That's so discouraging. I don't even know if I want to continue fishing today. So despite the disappointing setback, I have decided to continue on with my quest for this evening. Nice little bass right there, out of this tiny little creek. It feeds out of the main river here and goes on back in. And this guy was actually hanging out in here, chilling. So that's a good sign. Didn't expect to catch a fish this big out of this tiny of a creek. All right guys, so I'm about ready to wrap up here for the day. So I'm gonna go ahead and fish this pool real quick before I leave. As you can see, it's just kind of a nice slow moving eddy. The bank looks pretty deep in here, so we'll give it a shot and see if anything's biting. Oh, it's a crappie, dude. I just caught this big crappie right there on the little jig. Good night. That is a nice fish right there. Big old crappie. Very healthy fish too. I did not think there was crappie in here. That is so sweet. It's a good fish. Oh my word, it's a good fish. What is going on, dude? I stumbled across a pod of huge crappie right here. These gorgeous fish. Last fish I expected to catch out of this creek today. Let's go, dude. I gotta tell you guys, that is so rewarding after losing my camera in the river. Finally getting on some nice fish. It's so exciting. Oh, got him. Another one, dude. Another tank. Oh my word. Oh my word. What is going on? These are some of the biggest crappie I've ever caught. Look at that one. Oh my word. I'm not gonna lie, guys. After losing that camera earlier today, I was seriously doubting whether or not it was worth even continuing to film back here. But, oh my word. Another slab. Look at that. Let's go, dude. Well, guys, finally made it back to the car. I am absolutely pooped. Exhausted. But I was able to finish the day off strong, catch some nice fish in spite of losing like a $300 camera in the river. Still ended the day on a high note with those crappie, so I'm pretty happy right now. All right, so I'm gearing up right now, getting ready to head back in for yet another fishing expedition into the floodplain. For today, I want to try and explore upstream a fair bit. We've explored the log jam and the little tributary that runs in. We've actually caught some good fish there, but I want to explore past that. And so today I actually have a cameraman with me, and that's going to allow us to move freely. I can focus on the fishing and he can focus on the filming. So that's what the plan is. I have to put some line on a couple of fishing poles. As you can see, this one has no line, and I need to put some line on it. So we're going to do that quick, get the gear prepped, and head out. We're right here, and the creek crossing is right there. The only problem is you have to go through that. A wall of brush. I've been battling these weeds all year. They have been the bane of my existence. And even though it's late in the year, they're still growing very healthy. And the only way to get to the river, straight through them. Really starting to hate this. Coming through here with fishing poles is not a nightmare, but close to it. All right, I'm gonna try and keep them up really high. There you go. All right, so my cameraman was following behind me, and we had a bit of an incident.
Wasn't past the barb.
I hooked him. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
It wasn't past the barb?
No, I got lucky at that.
Let me see, is it bleeding?
I'm not even sure where it's at.
Okay, it looked a lot worse than it was.
Yeah.
I thought for a minute I buried the hook past the barb, but I just got a skin wound. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and take this hook off because he's following behind me and I don't want to hook him again.
Yeah.
Made it out of that mess. Once your shoes get wet, everything's hosed. All right, there you go. Oh, that was something. Okay. All right, so we're making our way back in here, further upriver. I've never explored this area before, but just from what I'm seeing, it looks like a lot of really shallow, kind of flat water. Most of this is maybe a foot deep, if that. A lot of it's a lot less. So what I'm looking for is pockets of deep water. So I can see a big log jam up there, and I think there might be some deeper water. The bank looks really cut out right there. So hopefully there'll be some fish hanging out in there. We have to traverse this muddy bank. Hopefully nobody falls in. All right, so as you can see right there's a pool. It's definitely a lot deeper than the surrounding water. So I think it's gonna hold some fish. It's kind of on the backside of this log jam. So we're gonna make our way up there, start fishing it. Yeah, this looks a lot better. All right, so what I'm gonna do is start off fishing this pool with something really aggressive. Got this whopper plopper right here, nice loud topwater bait, gonna fish it. And then if nothing bites, we'll switch up and throw the tiny swim bait in there. We'll start over here in the shallow. What just, my line, okay, I just broke my rod. Do you see that? All right, that was really weird. So I just went to cast the whopper plopper and rod just broke. That's very annoying. I'm not sure what happened. That is very random. Went to cast the whopper plopper and the rod literally just snapped in half. So it's possible that on the way in, when we were walking through the thick stuff, we might have, damaged the rod. But nevertheless, I have the whopper plopper tied on to the broken rod, and we're going to continue to fish, even with a broken rod. All right, so nothing's hitting the whopper plopper. We're going to switch over to the ultralight real quick. How deep is that? Okay, just broke off. Another bait. Starting to get a little frustrated now. Breaking off baits, breaking rods. Finally caught a fish. That's a good bluegill right there. All right, so first fish of the day, beautiful little bluegill. Caught it literally right at my feet. I think this bank is a little undercut, and I just dropped my bait down there and had like 3 bites. There you go, beautiful fish. Look at him, gorgeous colors. Put him back. Let's see if there's another one in here. Oh, nothing in there. That's too shallow. Let's walk up a little bit. This fishing is. Yeah, it's a lot easier. You take advantage of how easy this is. Like. Oh yeah, this is hot. Oh shoot. Oh crap. You okay? Don't move. I was doing so good. All right, so Isaiah went down in the mud too, bro. Let me see what it looks like back end. I don't know. That's gonna leave a mark. You good? Yeah, catch some fish now. Frustration is setting in, I'm not gonna lie. So far we've broken a rod, slipped and fallen in the mud, lost multiple lures, and caught 1 fish. And that was a bluegill.
This looks really good. I don't know why there's no fish in here. It really blows my mind. There's a fish in there. There's a fish, literally right there.
Oh my.
Okay, well, we got a fish, guys. How exciting. This is our second fish of the day. Again, not a huge fish. It's a micro bass. But for this creek, this is about average size.
That was crazy. He came out of that little pool.
I got that. This river wants us gone.
This river wants to kill us. Got him.
Yes.
Smallmouth. We finally caught a smallmouth.
Yes.
We finally caught a smallmouth. Oh my word. Tell you what, it has been a rough trip. I am thoroughly pleased to catch this little guy. I gotta tell you, these fish are small, but on an ultralight rod in Rio, catching smallmouth this size, very, very fun. Sweet. Starting to put together a little bit of a pattern now. This spot is kind of developing. Got a bite, that was good. Oh my word, bro.
Oh my word.
Okay, I just caught a absolute toad of a crappie. Look at the size of that crappie right there. That is the way to end the day. Dude, that is a slab. Look at the size of this thing. Oh my word. Boom! After a trash day of fishing, we finally got something decent. Look at that. Okay. All right, so the cameraman tried his luck with the busted rod, and he actually caught a fish.
Baby. Look at that.
On the busted rod with the whopper plopper.
Yeah.
Great way to end the day. The cameraman finally got to catch a fish. Show it to the camera, bud.
Here we go. Beautiful large.
Nice little largemouth right there.
I'll take it.
All right. You ready to go home?
Yeah.
So that turned out being the last trip back into the floodplain. After that, the summer came to an end and I had to move on to other projects. But looking back, I have to say I really enjoyed this experience. Despite the fact that the lake that I was initially wanting to fish was dried up and dead, I was able to find some good fishing back there. I caught some of the biggest crappie I've ever caught in my entire life back there, and it was just a really amazing experience. That place has a certain element of mystery and intrigue about it that to this day still captures my imagination. I still find myself thinking about going back. Fishing for me has never been about trying to catch the biggest fish in the world. To me, fishing is about satisfying a longing to explore and discover. What lies beneath the murky depths? There's only one way to find out. Grab a fishing pole and get out and fish.